And hello, Spider-Man fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Zone TV Movie Entertainment with me, your host, Jonathan, once again bringing you my spoiler review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, this is my spoiler review. We're going to talk about pretty much everything. What could be happening for the future for the MCU? Every little detail that, I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't from yesterday's non-spoiler review. You guys can go watch that if you want. If you have not seen the movie yet, so you can go watch that review. But this is all spoilers, so if you have not seen this movie, spoilers are heavy right here. So let's begin. So we all know Spider-Man is kind of struggling here. He's trying to balance being Spider-Man like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But there are some times he has his Peter Parker moments where he's trying to literally get in contact with MJ and Ned, trying to figure out a way to explain that letter that he wrote to them in the beginning, at the end of the last movie. And then we see them kind of interact a little bit, but MJ doesn't really know him, Ned doesn't really know him. And I'm gonna get to my reasons why there were some moments about these two characters I did not like. But yeah, we get to see some montages of him just saving the city. Everybody in the city loves him now. He's pretty much a national hero. Gets the key to the city. He's working directly with one of the main detective cops. She's hanging out with her family, but she's on the phone with Spider-Man all the time, giving him information, getting information from him about, some criminals that they always capture. We see their version of Boomerang. We see not Hammerhead, I forgot the character's name. He's got like a Batarang for a head, Scorpion, of course, and a whole bunch of other, villains montages. So that was all in the beginning. We even see him fight the Hand in here, and then the Hand end up working with Damage Control, and I'll get to that in a minute. We also get to see Peter struggle. Apparently his powers are kind of metamorphosing something different, something bad, something violent, and he can't control it. And there's a moment where he's fighting Scorpion, and he's learning how to use the organic webs that Tobey Maguire had. Can't control it. He's angry. He's fighting, and like he has the Venom suit on him, but obviously it's not the Venom suit. It's something inside him that's he's struggling to balance. Kind of like if you guys remember when Peter from Tobey Maguire was struggling to try to balance Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and then it was messing up in his mind where his powers weren't working. Kind of like that, except his is like he took an adrenaline rush and it spiked his powers to a place where even he can't control. So Peter decides he needs to build an inhibitor to kind of dampen his powers a little bit and try to, balance it out. He goes to Professor Hulk or Professor Banner to try to figure out how he did it with his, inhibitor, because he's got that one for his arm where he got his arm damaged, which I'm surprised he's still wearing that. Maybe he should have wore a watch instead, but I don't know why. It feels like his arm is still kind of damaged from the after effects of what happened with the snap, but whatever. So we get to see that, and that's a very interesting thing that you get to see here, the dampening of his powers, because that is going to be a future tech, what's going to be used for mutants in the future. So obviously Peter creates that. He's trying to figure out how to use it. There's a point in the movie where Jean Grey, played by Sadie Sink, again, spoilers if you've not seen it, she starts thinking about, oh, I'm going to go take Jean from you, because, he doesn't know why Jean is doing all this. Jean's upset with Damage Control because Damage Control took her sister. The two of them were just minding their own business. They had their powers, trying to figure out how to control them. Jean can basically mind jump to people, I guess like a certain length. So every time she jumps into somebody's body, mind-wise, she can do it repeatedly, depends on how close it is and range. She's trying to focus that. We saw a flashback of her sister trying to teach her that. And then her sister walks off, and then she gets captured by Damage Control. And Damage Control pretty much pushes her to the limits of learning about her powers. And then at the end, she gets killed. We don't see her sister get killed, but you can pretty much tell that Damage Control killed her. Also, they are, partnering up with Peter And he thinks, oh yeah, the two of us can work together, bring in these dangerous metahumans, or obviously mutants in this case, but they don't say mutants, they do say meta people. So he thinks they working together, it's a good thing. Then he finds out later on through Jean that they were lying to him, and all this is just because Damage Control are pretty much gearing up to become the future threats for the mutants. So this is basically them planting the seeds of that. So I thought that stuff was really cool. Again, the dampening thing is starting to come around, because that's going to probably be the tech. Somebody's going to find a way to use that tech, whether that's Bruce Banner's version, or somehow find Peter's version and use that to create the dampening collars that the mutants wear, so they can't use their powers for future stuff. So that's kind of cool how we got to see that set up there. So that was awesome. What else? Oh, the Hulk stuff. The Hulk was pretty much cool. First of all, we got to see Professor Hulk do, rage up and do his thing. But then somehow Jean Grey was able to unlock the Beast itself, and then he literally transformed back into the Hulk. They all went to the Damage Control headquarters because Jean was there to take out the main guy. And the Hulk fully came out and attacked Peter, and the two of them had a fight. Punisher was there as well to try to help. We got to see him fight the Punisher. That was kind of cool. No, Punisher wore armor. I don't know where that rumor came from. I remember when the rumors about that coming up when Spider-Man started filming, that he was going to get the Punisher war suit, which would have been cool. But no, it was just Punisher doing his thing. The interactions between Peter and Punisher were fantastic. The way apparently Peter saved his life on Staten Island somehow, and that joke became a running gag. So I thought that was great, but it didn't became a running gag in a negative way. It became a running gag in a fun way, because it's like, I want to know what happened. They don't explain what happened. It's just like, yeah, do you remember that time in Staten Island and I saved you? And he goes, hey, that doesn't count. It's kind of like that kind of a thing, but they don't explain what actually happened. So I thought that stuff was really, really cool. So I enjoyed that part a lot. Another thing that was awesome was the fact that, it was fun seeing Peter with the organic webs. But, honestly, if he was going to keep it, I'm surprised he doesn't. Honestly, he finally finds a way to not use the inhibitor and control his anger and his power, because he realizes that he can balance both, being Peter Parker and Spider-Man, by just being honest. He's bottling up everything that he can't have into him and is messing him up from the inside. He finally tells MJ the truth, and MJ is like, yeah, I found your letters, because he was trying to protect her from Jean, because Jean was threatening to kill her. And she finds the letter. She finds the letter and reads it. She's like, I want to know the truth. He takes off the mask and is like, yeah, it's everything's true, and I love you. And then she does the one thing that's more powerful than any villain has ever happened to any superhero, saying that I don't love you, I don't know you. That pretty much put the nail in the coffin that we're moving away from MJ. Which is, I think it's a good thing. I think it's time for us to move away from MJ. Because I know a lot of people say that she's not the real Mary Jane. So, okay. So if we're going to get Mary Jane eventually, maybe that's probably why these two need to break up officially now. And also, there's Gwen Stacy. We could eventually get her. Maybe a version of her where she doesn't die. But we'll see. So apparently, yeah, Zendaya does now know the truth and about the spell and everything, what happened with her. She knows pretty much everything. And then, of course, the ending of this is the same thing with Ned. Ned finds out the truth because they do the fist bump thing that they do, which that was my biggest problem with this movie, was the fact that what was the point of doing Spider-Man No Way Home's way of him, snapping away everybody's memories of him as Peter Parker, so that way he can just be Spider-Man, if we all knew that was going to be fixed. So I just don't understand that part. Even if he had to go through this metamorphosis regardless, he still could have learned in a different way without having those two knowing his secret. And it looks like the spell doesn't matter anymore. So apparently, yeah, I guess maybe the rest of the world doesn't know who he is. But those two officially know that he's Peter Parker and he's Spider-Man. They used to be all together as friends and, you know, love interests. So I guess that was like my one major thing that I did not like about this was like, why would you just undo the spell this quickly? If they would have waited to the next movie, maybe you know, Spider-Man 5, then I'm like, all right, cool. Time has gone by a little bit more. You know, I mean, I know in the timeline here, it's been like a couple of years because Ned and MJ are like graduating college. So it's like their 4 years have actually passed. But for us, the audience, has only been like, what, 3 years? So it's like, come on. It's like, why do it anyway? I wanted them to like break up, try to get back together. And then eventually something happens where she does remember. You know, she meets him, clean slate, they start dating, and something happens, another villain shows up, and something happens where everything comes back to her, and then they break up again. That would have been more of an impact for him, but still. And now that he's able to control his, you know, his new mutation thing, he's like, he looks more stronger. The way he was fighting the hand in this was great. And speaking of the hand, I thought the hand stuff was kind of weak. Like, what was the point of having the hand if there was just going to be a couple of them henchmen? They got captured by Spider-Man, and then they learned their lessons, and then Damage Control's like, we'll be your sensei, and then they started working for them because they had no actual structure or leader, so that made no sense to me, but okay. But yeah, so there's that. Again, with the Punisher and MJ stuff was great. Just the two of them talking. You know, she's like getting him the way he's all moody and angry sometimes, and she's just like, yeah, I get that. So I thought that stuff was great. And then of course, then there's Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. Listen, if we're gonna get Jean Grey setting up her into the X-Men world, I'm ready for it because I thought she did a really good job of playing this character, introducing this character to us. We've seen versions of MJ, Jean in the past and other movies, but something a little bit more different where she's kind of angry. She's alone. She doesn't have anyone. She hasn't met Scott yet. She hasn't met the professor yet, so she's very alone. But she has a very cool moment here where she talks to Peter after she's trying to kill the guy who killed her sister, who's the leader of Damage Control. And she's just trying to get rid of him, try to get rid of that pain. But Peter's like, hey, listen, it's not going to help you. Let me help you. Let me be that friend for you. I'm sorry I listened to these guys. I thought these guys were right the whole time, but obviously they were wrong. And then the two of them, she lets him into his mind, because in the beginning of the movie she couldn't get into his mind because of the whole spider sense. But once Peter let her in, they started talking, and then she actually got to talk to Aunt May, and Aunt May was like, yeah, we all love you. You are special. You are this, and we're here for you. You know, you can be who you want to be if you just, you know, let go of your anger. So she did, and now she's off somewhere. You know, she took a bus out of town, so it looks like she could be heading towards Westchester. Could be, so that could be a thing, setting up her to meet Charles and Cyclops and everybody else to, I guess, start fresh and of course eventually become an X-Men. But we have to wait and see there. Peter gets shot in here because, you know, Jean's powers were being tested by the Damage Control. And then she let a bolt of energy out into half of the city. And the only way people can get through or was to try to find a way to stop her. Punisher had to take a big sniper-looking weapon and try to take her out. But Peter stopped it by taking the shot himself. So even though he sensed it, protected her, and he got shot. And then the whole city was kind of in the preparing to mourn stage in the city, where everybody was like lighting candles for him, sending prayers to see if he's going to be okay. And of course he makes it, obviously. And then of course Punisher dresses up as Spider-Man to wave to the crowd, say that he's okay, so Peter can get out of there. So I thought that was a funny shot. What else? Oh, like I said, my biggest negative about this movie was the fact that Ned and MJ figure it out everything. The spell was like completely over with them, so I thought that stuff was whatever. MJ's boyfriend, I don't know why she even had one in this movie. had like nothing to do with the story at all. He was just in it, and that's it. He gets one kiss, and that's pretty much it, and he's gone, done. They didn't even talk. They didn't even mention Flash. Flash was in this for, like, as I mentioned, because apparently Ned builds a spider tracker. So when he finds out Spider-Man's in his area, because MJ brings him to the apartment and they start building Legos together. I thought that was a great moment to see. I love seeing the two of them be together, but I just thought it was a little too early for them to bring them back together as friends. They should have rebuilt that relationship from scratch. Then eventually the next movie, something happens where the spell breaks. That would have been more of an impactful thing to me, but whatever. Yeah, Damage Control, I think they're going to be the ones that, they're the seed that starts, that people are going to start hating mutants once the mutants officially come to the woodworks. So, yeah. Florence Pugh is in here. She's, obviously Yelena, she had an office in a bathhouse, so she was in the pool. She's like telling Peter to all get undressed and get in here. He kept the mask on though. I thought that was funny. Again, the action scenes were great. Scorpion looked like he got killed. Peter almost killed some cops because he threw a police car to Scorpion with 2 police officers in it, and they got injured, and he felt bad, so that's why he built the inhibitor for himself. Again, somebody's gonna find that technology, use it on future for mutants eventually, or power people. So that's pretty much the beginnings of that stage. So that's awesome. So again, it's either gonna be Spider-Man's tech or Banner's version, whatever comes first. So one or the other. So that's gonna be pretty interesting to see. Banner turned back into the Hulk after he fell because Peter punched him with Shocker's glove, and yet that just pissed off the Hulk even more. He falls off the building when they were fighting in Damage Control, and he turns back into Bruce, and Bruce is like, is everybody okay? So he's been in some kind of hospital, probably somewhere where they can keep an eye on him and have him locked up. So obviously, because he's the Hulk, so they want to make sure that they have him locked up. But yeah. And then again, the ending of this episode, of this movie, was Ned and Peter doing their handshake, and Ned's like, Peter, and then it just ends right there. And then there's the post-credit scene. So let's talk about the post-credit scene, because the post-credit scene here it's pretty interesting. So obviously we know that Ned, he has the spider tracker, and it can track Spider-Man's location, wherever he is in the city. A blip comes on the screen, and it's like searching, gone, disappears, and then it stretches out of the city, out into space, and then Spider-Man detected. Now, it could mean a different couple of things. I have like 3 different theories that can be. So theory number 1, that can be Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man somehow entered our universe because of the whole, incursion stuff is starting to happen again because of Doomsday is about to happen. So that could be that thing. 2, it could sense Miles has come into the MCU. I do think the Miles one might be a little kind of stretching it because they want to finish the Spider-Verse movies first and then bring him into live action. So that one's a little bit of stretch, but I was thinking of that one. But I was like, I don't know if they're going to do that one right now. Maybe after Secret Wars they'll set up Miles. But, there's that. It could be also Andrew Garfield or Spider-Man as well. Maybe. Depends, like I said, the incursions are happening, so I don't even know if he's going to be in Doomsday or not. So there's that. Our main Peter, Tom Holland Peter, he's not in Doomsday. He's not going to be in Doomsday except the post-credit scene. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to be the post-credit scene. I think Peter, that blip that happened in the tracker is showing us Secret Wars. I think that scene is for Secret Wars. I think Peter's gonna wake up in Battle World, in some lab, some place, whether he's captured by Doctor Doom or the other Peters are like waking him up because he's been knocked out or something happened to him. We're gonna find this out in Doomsday. I think Doomsday is gonna be the other piece of this, post-credit scene. We're gonna see what happens to Peter after the events of him hanging out with Ned. Because something happened between that point and then this point There's something missing. There's a gap missing in the middle. So I think Peter wakes up in Battleworld, already there. Everything's already happened. He doesn't know what's going on. Peter 1, Peter 2 show up. Well, Peter 2 and Peter 3 show up. You know, they're like, hey, listen, man, there's a situation. We don't want to freak you out. Then he's going to look outside the window and it's Battleworld. Or he's going to wake up with Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom's already given him the spider suits, the Venom suits, the symbiote suit, excuse me. And he's wearing the symbiote suit, and his eyes are going to go black or something. And he's going to be completely covered in the black suit and become, quote-unquote, bad for that movie. I have a feeling that those are the two main things I think can happen. Either he wakes up in Battleworld, you know, with Toby and Andrew, and explain to him what the heck just happened so he can be the leader. Or Doctor Doom kidnaps him and puts him somewhere, gets him ready for Battleworld, and he's going to be his soldier, if you will, with the black suit. And he's going to be corrupted, and is going to corrupt his mind, and he's going to go crazy. And he's going to go fight the other two Spider-Mans. But we have to wait and see. But honestly, like I said, I really like this movie a lot. It really grounded Peter Parker. I think this is Tom's best performance as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He did a really good job. Him trying to figure out how to balance both, you know, being friends with Ned and being in love with MJ. Now he can move on from MJ and still be Spider-Man, but also still be their friends as well. And he can balance both of them. And now he knows how to control that supposed hidden power that he has, that anger that he kept having with his powers because it was going all wonky. So now that that's calmed down, he doesn't need the chip anymore. He can totally, you know, be stronger than he always been. And now he can fully be Spider-Man and have balance his love life, his work life, his school life. And he's fine. So, yeah. Yeah, the Scorpion stuff again was great. I wish we got a little bit more of him in the movie, but still, it was just somebody there to fight. The Ned and MJ finding out the secret was like my really big like, why you shouldn't have waited kind of a thing. I really wish they would have reset that so that way they can start off as friends again and then go from there. But what are you gonna do? But yeah, this movie was so much fun. I enjoyed every moment of it. MJ was great. Minus having the boyfriend part. I thought that was kind of stupid. And it was like no point of her having the boyfriend. And also, honestly, now that I think about it, it's a great scene. Don't get me wrong. It's a great scene. The Hulk stuff, I like the Hulk. And I'm glad he's freaking back. I'm sick and tired of him being Smart Hulk. I'm glad the Hulk is back. I actually wish they would have not used it in this movie. I don't think we actually needed him in this movie. I think Peter would have figured out how to use the dampener thing by himself. And plus, MJ was the one who helped him anyway in the movie anyway. She was the one who's like, oh, do this and this and this. This is why this is happening to your chip. Because it's being, you know, the circuitry is being disconnected because of their eye control thing that he has. You know, so technically you really didn't need Bruce Banner in here. He couldn't just figure out a way to do it himself. But whatever. But I'm glad we did get to see it. I'm glad we did get to see Rage Hulk again, because honestly we all missed him. And yeah. Again, this movie had everything going for it. It was the longest Spider-Man movie. There were some moments in here that it kind of like just talk. But I was still invested in everything going on because it's a Spider-Man movie. But there were some moments in here that other villains didn't, you know, Tombstone and the other villains, they were just like the montage. So I knew that was going to happen, but it was really nothing to it. Excuse me, nothing to it. You know, honestly, the web slinging stuff was fantastic. When he was shooting with the web shooters, awesome. Loved him. Testing out the new web shooters. And then when he gets to organic webbing, I was like, okay. At first, I thought he was going to turn into the Man Spider, but it's all because of his powers are going wanky because he's having a difficult time balancing everything, you know? Even though he kind of got rid of Peter Parker, he's still Peter Parker trying to live in the world where nobody knows him, and he's trying to balance that and trying to get his friends back. He can't do that and also be Spider-Man at the same time. He's always exhausted. He's always this. So basically, he kind of did a montage of Peter in Spider-Man 2. Except in that one, he chose not to be Spider-Man, except In this movie, Peter chose to be Spider-Man instead of Peter Parker. So now he's got to learn how to balance both of them. Now he can't officially let go and be both and have the powers of both Peter Parker and be Spider-Man at the same time. His powers can be balanced more often, and he can just be awesome again. And the fight in the hand was awesome, but kind of a ways. Jean Grey was a great villain. Misunderstood, obviously, but still, seeing the range of her powers only gets me more excited to see what she's going to do in the X-Men stuff. And then, of course, eventually become the Dark Phoenix one day. Make it 10 years, please. I don't need Marvel doing that right away, because I don't want to see the Phoenix Force for another 10 years. But, yeah, I thought this movie had everything going for it. I'm very excited to see what the future holds, not only for Spider-Man, but also for X-Men, because they planted the seeds here with the inhibitors, and that can bring in the dampening collars. That's going to bring in people's hatred towards the mutants, So, and just seeing Spider-Man fight, neighborhood threats again was great. He didn't really have a big galactic threat like in the other movies. I'm just so glad we got to see a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man again and doing his own thing. No more Iron Man stuff tying him back. No more Iron Man technology. He's got a 3D printer, guys, where he's 3D printing his suits. So that's awesome. It's very, very, very stupidly advanced, obviously, but it's still his own tech. He's doing it himself. He's not going to anybody else for help, except for this one thing with the inhibitors. But still, I really enjoy this movie a lot. This movie is destroying the freaking box office right now. I just checked out the numbers. Holy heck! Yeah, this is gonna make $1 billion by next week. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it hits $1 billion by Friday. But yeah, this movie is fantastic. Go watch this movie. And make sure you watch the after credit. Again, that could lead into Secret Wars. We could get a Doomsday Doomsday post-credit scene that shows what happened to Peter before that blip came on screen, and in between that and him hanging out with Ned. So yeah, we had some great heart moments between him, Ned, building some Legos together. His kind of breaking up with MJ, where she's like, "I don't love you anymore." That kind of I think he needed to hear that. I think he needed to hear that, so that way, when at the end of the movie, when he's fighting the ninjas, he can realize, yeah, I'm okay. I can still be Spider-Man and be Peter Parker and be a friend to her and be there for her if she needs me and still balance everything. And he does, and it was just great. So, fantastic Spider-Man movie. Might be the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. After seeing it twice now, it's the best Spider-Man that Tom Holland's made. Yeah, because the last one, it was more of a Passion of the Torch kind of a movie, And Sony and Marvel working together is just working very well. Spider-Man's owned by Sony still, guys. Remember that. But them letting Marvel help them out with that, they're freaking crushing it right now. Spider-Man's just dominating everything, and I love it. So, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about this spoiler review of Spider-Man. Did you like it? Was there anything I missed that you wanted to talk about? Whatever it is, leave me a comment below. Let me know what would you have changed? What would you have kept in the movie? What would you want more from the movie? Was there any other kind of like, I kind of want some more X-Men details? And whatever it is, leave me a comment below. Let me know. Stay tuned for more. Thank you very much, and have a good day.